You don't need the 400 Sport Pack, but it's a reminder of why the F-Type is so lovable. Detroit, Michigan. Should you mess with a great thing? Would you retouch a Monet or remix Dark Side of the Moon? Probably not. That's why I was a little skeptical of the new 400 Sport Pack for the Jaguar F-Type S. The supercharged coupe is an outstanding sports car that I felt needed no changes at all. Fortunately, the changes involved in the 400 Sport are all positives. There's an extra 20 horsepower under the hood, for a total of 400, enlarged brakes front and rear, a striking splitter, various yellow 400 Sport badges, and yellow contrast stitching within. I'm happy to report that this special edition, it's limited to the 2018 model year, only serves to amplify the essential goodness of the F-Type. Toggle poise. 2018 Jaguar F-Type Sport 400, Review. Pros. Oh, that engine. This engine is a gem even with the 380 HP on offer in a regular F-Type S, and it's only improved by its power infusion in the 400 Sport. Vivacious and strong, the supercharged V6 is all the engine you need to have a blast. Sure, the V8 powered R and SVR versions are quicker, but this 6-cylinder F-Type still leaps like a pouncing, Jaguar. Involving chassis, taut suspension, a firm brake pedal, and talkative steering all make the F-Type as much fun to hustle around curves as it is to accelerate in a straight line. It's got plenty of grip, lots of stopping power from those upgraded brakes, and all the eagerness to make you deliberately miss your turn on the drive home. Percussive exhaust. Unless you're, say, going on a long road trip or driving past a funeral, always be sure to hit the exhaust button after starting the F-Type. The Sport's exhaust screams and shouts wonderful noises, letting the V6 snarl and punctuating your drive with crackles and snaps. You're going to want to find some tunnels. Cons. Hit or miss infotainment. The 8-inch touchscreen infotainment system has attractive graphics and straightforward functionality. When it works, it's great. Unfortunately, too often when I tap the screen, I have to wait a few beats until something happens. Those occasional delays add up to a frustrating tech experience. So visibility. Like any coupe with such an aggressive roofline, the F-Type doesn't offer much in the way of over-the-shoulder visibility. Blind spot monitoring and a backup camera help in the avoidance of obstacles, but it's when entering the road at an acute angle that I find myself straining my neck for a view out. The sacrifices we make for beauty. Turbo S too slow? GT3 not sharp enough? Step up to the 911 GT2 Rs. Silverstone, England. Did anyone ever get out of a 911 Turbo S and proclaim it too slow? Or a GT3 and think it could do with being a bit sharper? Evidently so, Porsche answering those questions with this, the new GT2 Rs. It's an intriguing mashup of each, with the promise of more of everything. The GT2's predecessors have quite a reputation, rightly or wrongly, its more recent Rs iteration being dubbed the Widowmaker. That's in reference to its combination of massive power, and the potentially tricky handling that came with it. The GT2 Rs appeals to a certain type of customer, then, Porsche's GT boss Andreas Preuninger saying they're a little bit more overt, demanding the very best performance, so the GT2 Rs is deliberately loud, both visually and orally. Preuninger also admits it's a riposte to those commentators that complain the GT department has lost its focus on outright speed and instead has been building more purist-orientated cars like the 911R and manual GT3. To counter those arguments, the GT department took the GT2 Rs to that track for a timed lap. The result was a 6-minute, 47.3-second lap, beating all production car comers and smashing even Porsche's own predicted times by some considerable margin. To allow that, the GT team has thrown everything at the GT2 Rs and taken a bit out too. The engine is derived from the Turbo S 3.8-liter biturbo flat 6, the chassis, aero, and weight saving more akin to the direction the GT3 takes. It's no simple mash-up, though. The GT2 RS has very much its own identity, its mixed parentage creating a monstrous hybrid, very much in the Marvel superhero sense, not the Toyota Prius one. You can't help but have an opinion of it, the GT2 RS thuggish, cartoonish track refugee appearance not exactly shy. It's all functional, though, those many intakes, wings, and protuberances all doing one thing, creating speed. And lots of it? That massive wing, depending on angle, develops up to 992 pounds of downforce, though if you want to reach the quoted top speed of 211 miles per hour, you'll want it at its 750 pound setting. If that huge rear wing has got Porsche written on its top surface and there's a stripe up the bonnet and roof, you're looking at a Weissach pack-equipped GT2 RS. That, like the 918 Spider Weissach before it, adds a sizable amount to the bill. Here it adds about 10% to the $293,200 list price, that bank balance lightning also removing about 64 pounds of mass from your new stripy plaything. We don't envisage anyone ordering their GT2 RS without the Weissach kit. Could you imagine the embarrassment of saying you had? Your mere 3,241 pound curb weight would be a laughing stock up and down any track day pit lane. You could, of course, suggest that with 690 horsepower and 553 pound-feet of torque from 3.8-liter engine, dropping another 64 pounds is unnecessary. And you'd probably be right. Porsche doesn't quote any difference in figures for the 0 to 62 time, which, despite the limitations of channeling its prodigious grunt through the rear wheels, is achieved in 2.8 just seconds. It'll do double that, 0 to 124, in 8.3 seconds, making this the quickest 911 you can buy. No, you'll want the Weissach pack for the magnesium wheels, not just because they look great, but also because they drop the unsprung masses. Given the GT2 RS effectively runs a 911 Cup car suspension with a Nürburgring setup, that is a very good thing. The Weissach pack also brings carbon fiber suspension elements, among the already fully ball-jointed setup, a carbon fiber roof and hood, carbon fiber shift paddles, and a titanium roll cage. The standard interior is bright red and black, like Dracula's coffin, only in Alcantara. It is so colored because about 80% of 997 GT2 RS customers specified their car that way, though you can, of course, specify it with subtler hues. Do that. And if you're ticking option boxes, you might as well have the Chrono Pack, which adds some functionality to the display screens if you're intent on measuring your lap times using Porsche's Track Precision app. There's no push-to-pass mode switch on the steering wheel because, really, with 690 HP at your disposal, everything's already dialed up to 11 all the time anyway. That it is fast comes as no surprise, really. The engine's huge output is delivered forcefully, it punching with grimace-inducing pace from 2000 RPM to around 5000 RPM, before and after which it's merely shockingly quick. Helping produce this power are water spray-cooled intercoolers, a titanium exhaust, and revised internal components to cope with the flat 6's significantly increased output. There's little perceptible lag, this engine's turbocharged nature meaning it runs out of revs about 2000 RPM quicker than its naturally aspirated 4.0-liter GT3 relation. But this biturbo 6 is a responsive, immediate thing. Shifting gears is done via Porsche's 7-speed PDK dual-clutch gearbox. PDK is quicker, so it's fitted as standard, the shift's instantaneous, the paddles never second-guessing or denying you your decision, unless you're particularly deft. Just try to resist the temptation on any drive to not do a launch troll start, the way the GT2 RS catapults down the road when doing so being hilariously addictive. It's a vocal engine for a modern turbocharged Porsche, though it lacks the intense, singing highs of its 4.0-liter GT3 cousin. It's bassy, deeper toned notes aren't as rousing, but what they signal is ridiculous, any gear pace. In that regard, the 911 GT2 RS is up with its contemporaries like the Ferrari 488 GTB and Lamborghini Huracan Performante against the clock, though it doesn't quite manage to achieve the outrageous mid-range effervescence of the freakishly quick McLaren 720s. It's a different proposition though, more hardcore, in looks and ideology, all of which makes the chassis something of a surprise. Given its ball-jointed nature and Nürburgring focus, you'd rightly expect harshness and compromises. It's testament to the GT department's efforts with the damping that the GT2 RS isn't stymied by the vagaries of British tarmac. The ride is taut, but there's real control, the GT2 RS riding with sophisticated composure, allowing you to really enjoy the huge performance on offer. There's a wealth of grip from the Michelin Sport Cup 2 tires, traction as well mighty, though there's the suggestion of playfulness when you start pushing a bit harder. What is so beguiling is the steering, it's right up there with the best setups on a modern Porsche. There's decent weighting to the wheel, the response sharp, accuracy unfailing. Aided by the rear axle steering, the GT2 RS's nose is about as faithful on turn-in as you'll get in a modern, road-going 911. Combine that brilliant steering with the chassis ability on UK roads, and it's not the performance of the GT2 RS that's the highlight of the experience, but the ability to exploit it. In that regard, it's a sizable shift for the GT2 RS, and not an unwelcome one. If you're in the marketplace for a GT2 RS, it's inconceivable that you've not already tried to get one, and if you're still pondering the purchase decision, then yes, of course you should buy it. Only drive it, enjoy it. Please, don't stick it in the garage with no miles on it while you wait for its value to double. You've no longer got the excuse that it's a little bit too much of a handful, either, as the new GT2 RS adds control and finesse to its brutal power. Even so, if it were this or a GT3, I'd have the simpler, naturally aspirated car, not least because it's about $150,000 cheaper. Of course, that's not going to be a decision any GT2 RS buyer is ever going to have to make. They can have both. And they should. Porsche Panamera Turbo SE Hybrid Sport Turismo. It might be the longest make/model name in automotive history, but the marketing guys at Porsche want you to know exactly what you're getting when you shell out almost $190,000 for the company's fastest, most powerful, ultra-luxe wagonoid thingy. Arno Bogle, director of powertrain for the Panamera lineup, describes it another way, however: the 918 Spider for the whole family. The Panamera Turbo SE Hybrid Sport Turismo is. Hold up. Before we go any further, how about we adopt military practice and use an acronym instead? Our hard-working motor trend copy editors, Jesse and Mary, would appreciate wrangling fewer words. So how about P-test? Yeah, there's an S missing, and pedants would probably want the H in there as well, but the folks in the Pentagon's acronym department don't let awkward letters get in the way of their mission. Let's go with P-test. It's close enough for government work. Now, where were we? Ah, yes. The P-test is Porsche's idea of a plug-in hybrid family hatchback, combining the company's new 550 HP twin-turbo 4.0-liter V8 with a 136 HP electric motor mounted between the engine and the 8-speed PDK transmission to create a driveline with a system output of 680 HP from 5,750 RPM to 6,000 RPM and 626 lb-ft of torque from 1,400 RPM to 5,000 RPM. Although it has room for 5 and more load space than its sedan counterpart, Porsche's idea of a plug-in hybrid family hatchback is clearly a little different from Toyota's. Plug-in hybrids are supposed to be all about fuel efficiency, and although we don't yet have official EPA numbers, the P-test is kinda fuel efficient in the sense that you can drive it up to 30 miles, at speeds of up to 86 miles per hour, without burning a drop of gas. But to Bogle, this is almost a fringe benefit. We regard the hybrid system as a performance system, he says, the performance system of the future. Philosophically, the Porsche P-Test's hybrid powertrain is similar to that of the 918 Spider, the 214 miles per hour, 887 HP hypercar that once held our production car lap record at Laguna Seca. Bogle says the P-Test will hit 60 miles per hour in 3.2 seconds and zoom to 192 miles per hour, making it, along with the standard wheelbase Panamera Turbo SE hybrid sedan, the quickest and fastest of the 16 model Panamera lineup. In that sense, the P-Test is indeed a 918 Spider for the whole family. But that's about as far as the analogy goes, for despite all the electrons whizzing around under the skin, helping deliver the impressive acceleration and top speed numbers, getting all Donner und Blitzen on a tight and twisting canyon road is a strangely uninvolving experience. Although loaded with the latest in Porsche Dynamics technology, all-wheel steering is about the only option. This Turismo is simply too big, too heavy, to drive like a sports car. Switching to Sport or Sport and modes, Porsche's Sport Chrono package is standard, stiffens the P-Test sinews, keeps the twin-turbo V8 fired up at all times, and switches the electric motor to DEFCON 1, ready to instantly assist the internal combustion engine to deliver maximum thrust on demand. Thus configured, the big Porsche indeed makes rapid progress. But despite the test track data, from behind the wheel it doesn't feel as thunderously fast on the road as, say, a Mercedes-AMG E63 wagon or even the bigger AMG S-Class sedan. That's the downside of having to haul around a 14.1 kWh lithium-ion battery pack. Tipping the scales at a hefty 5,125 pounds, the P-Test weighs 456 pounds more than an E63 wagon and 319 pounds more than an S63 sedan. Although the Porsche still has a marginally better power-to-weight ratio than either AMG car, the hybrid powertrain's delivery is much less melodramatic, and the big V8 seems oddly reluctant to be taken to its 6,800 RPM red line. And despite all-wheel drive and a torque vectoring E-diff at the rear, plus massive tires, 275/35 ZR21 up front, and 325/30 ZR21 at the rear, there's no disguising the effect of that extra mass in the twisty bits, even in cars fitted with the optional rear-wheel steering. No, the P-Test does its best work as a hybrid. Leave the steering wheel mounted Sport Chrono controller switch to hybrid mode, and P-Test comes into its own as a fast, relaxed, efficient Grand touring car. The height-adjustable 3-chamber air spring suspension and active anti-roll bars deliver a comfortable yet controlled ride, though, as with the Panamera sedan, the aggressive wheel/tire package means more road noise and impact harshness on less than perfect roads, and the software controlling the hybrid powertrain seamlessly integrates operation of the internal combustion engine, e-motor, and 8-speed PDK transmission to deliver the best mix of performance and fuel economy. The standard 3.5 kilowatts onboard charger replenishes the P-Test's battery in 6 hours when plugged into a level 2 charger, and an optional 7.2 kilowatts onboard charger drops that time to 2.4 hours. In hybrid mode, with the battery at a normal state of charge, the P-Test automatically drives off under electric power, with the internal combustion engine firing up only when the computer decides it's required to meet load demand or battery charge parameters. However, drivers can choose to activate an e-hold mode to maintain battery's state of charge, ensuring there's adequate charge left for zero-emission e-driving at their destination, or an e-charge mode that gets the V8 engine to develop more power than is actually needed for driving so the battery can be charged on the fly. The P-Test is the second most expensive Panamera you can buy, topped only by the extended wheelbase executive sedan with the same powertrain, which stickers for about $195,000. Porsche is clearly positioning hybrid as a premium powertrain, laying the groundwork for further electrification of Porsches over the coming decade and the forthcoming launch of the all-electric coupe like four-door based on the gorgeous Mission E concept. Technically, the smooth and fast 2018 Porsche Panamera Turbo SE Hybrid Sport Turismo is an impressive piece of work. And that mouthful of a moniker pretty much tells you exactly what you're driving, though we'd argue it's more Turismo than sport. A star in BMW's lineup that's struggling to gain attention. Cleveland, Ohio. BMW splits its lineup of compact cars between the 3 Series and 4 Series. The 3 Series offers a sedan, wagon, and an ungainly-looking 5-door hatchback called the Gran Turismo, while the 4 Series offers a coupe, convertible, and this striking-looking 5-door hatchback called the Gran Coupe. Oh, and don't forget the high-performance M models. The 4 Series Gran Coupe, though, offers the best combination of traits in the lineup. Attractive lines, athletic handling, and clever packaging, thanks to its hatchback, make it the most well-rounded roundel of the bunch. Pros. Better styling. The 4 Series Gran Coupe has 4 doors just like the 3 Series sedan, but it's so much nicer to look at. It's amazing what a subtle tweak to the roofline can do, but the way the Gran Coupe's roof arches elegantly back towards a smaller rear deck makes all the difference. It really does approximate the swept-back look of a coupe. Drive smaller. For 2018, BMW claims to have firmed up the 4 Series suspension and tweaked the steering. The changes definitely put some distance between the 4 Series Gran Coupe and 3 Series sedan in terms of handling. Despite their exterior dimensions being nearly identical, the Gran Coupe feels smaller when driving, with quicker turn-in and more confident cornering. It feels more like the 3 Series of yore that begged to be driven. Hatchback utility. The Gran Coupe doesn't look like a hatchback, but it is. Passers-by would swear it has a trunk that hinges at the bottom of the rear window, but press the key fob's remote trunk release and watch that sheet of glass rise upright along with the rear deck. Having a hatchback gives the Gran Coupe a leg up compared to the 3 Series sedan, for sure. Not only is the cargo area larger, but fold the rear seats forward and you've got a much larger, unencumbered space to work with. Cons. No M model. BMW. You've positioned the 4 Series Gran Coupe as more fun to drive than the 3 Series sedan, but it doesn't get the M treatment. You created an M6 from the 6 Series Gran Coupe, so why not this guy? Nothing would be sweeter than sharing the 425 horsepower, Viterbo, inline 6-cylinder engine from the M3 and M4 with the Gran Coupe. Even tighter. The 3 Series sedan isn't known for offering an abundance of passenger space, especially in the rear seat, and the 4 Series Gran Coupe is still a bit smaller. That gorgeous profile steals a bit of both head and legroom from rear seat passengers. While still fully functional for carrying 2 adults, anyone over 5 feet, 10 inches should sit in the front. If you liked the last QX80 you drove, you'll like this one, because it's pretty much the same. Charleston, South Carolina. In 2010, the world was introduced to Christopher Nolan's Inception, Katy Perry's California Girls, and AMC's The Walking Dead. It was also the year we met this generation of the Infiniti QX80. Back then it was called the QX56, and there was a significant update to the SUV in 2013. But this updated 2018 model, effectively the second-gen car's second refresh, does not feel particularly new. It does, however, look new from every angle. With svelter headlights, LEDs are standard, a wider and more upright grille, sharp strakes in the hood, and the fact that said hood extends 3.5 inches farther forward than before, the new QX80 at least appears fresher. The 20 and 22-inch wheels have been redesigned, the running board is wider to make it easier to stand on, and out back you'll spot redesigned tail lights, restyled chrome trim, and a new bumper. Moving inside, well, it looks just like the cabin of the last Infiniti QX80 I drove. While the material choices are top-notch, especially the optional saddle brown diamond-stitched leather door panels, most of the switchgear and gauges feel pretty ho-hum, bearing more in common with cars like the Nissan Murano than true luxury rivals. This year, there's a higher resolution touchscreen, shared with QX30 and QX60, extra sound-deadening materials throughout, new cup holders that can better accommodate mugs with handles, and larger screens, 8 instead of 7 inches, for the rear seat entertainment system. There are 2 new USB ports for second-row passengers, and they pump out a welcome 2.4 amps of tablet charging power. A smart video camera-based rear mirror can either show a normal mirrored view out back or a wide-angle video feed from a camera. This tech is also offered by Cadillac and Nissan. And if you've got an Amazon Alexa device, you can now use it to remotely lock, unlock, or start your QX80. In other respects, though, the QX80 feels behind the tech curve. You won't find Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, wireless phone charging, or a head-up display, and the low-res monochrome trip computer shows precious little information. It doesn't even have a digital speedometer or supplementary navigation/audio info. The only significant mechanical changes are intended to improve ride quality. Anand Patel, Senior Manager for Infiniti Product Management and Planning, says the suspension dampers were retuned for improved comfort, while a re-engineered tire sidewall is also there to soften the ride. Meanwhile, the 5.6-liter V8 and 7-speed automatic transmission are unchanged, with the former cranking out a competitive 400 horsepower and 413 pound-feet of torque, enough to tow 8,500 pounds. From behind the wheel, this new QX80 feels just like the last one. The V8 is strong and snarly, its automatic transmission plenty slick in the city but dim-witted when asked to hustle. For the most part, the entire powertrain fades into the background. Ponderous steering is noticeable all the time, however, making the big Infiniti feel even longer than it is. And despite the efforts to calm the ride, the body still quivers and shivers over bumps in a way most modern body-on-frame SUVs have excised, so the suspension feels nervous at all times. At least the optional hydraulic anti-roll system, equipped on my test car, helps to somewhat reduce wallowing through bends. The second row of seats is hugely spacious in terms of both head and legroom, with either a 3-across bench or captain's chairs available. Those seats fold and slide forward at the pull of a lever, allowing anchor to the third row. There's enough space that I can sit upright without hitting my head, but the super low seat cushion puts me in a knees-up stance I wouldn't want to keep for too long. Fortunately, a power recline function is available for the third row to somewhat ease comfort. Behind that, you'll find the cargo area has an unfortunately high lift-over height. At 16.6 cubic feet with the back seats up, it's a tad roomier than a Cadillac Escalade/GMC Yukon Denali, but a bit less than in a Lincoln Navigator. The long wheelbase Escalade ESV/Yukon XL and Navigator L, however, pack way more storage space. 2018 Infiniti QX80, First Drive 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 fuel economy hasn't improved at all this year, partly because you won't find modern features like cylinder deactivation or engine stop-start. That means pretty unimpressive EPA ratings of 14 miles per gallon city and 20 mpg highway for rear drive models, and 13/19 with four-wheel drive, on premium gas, no less. When pressed that rivals offer better economy figures, Patel simply says anyone who can afford a QX80 can stomach the gas bills. Fuel economy for this household income is not a huge impact. One thing in the QX80's favor is its relatively low starting prices of $64,750 for rear-wheel drive and $67,850 for four-wheel drive. That's about on par with the GMC Yukon Denali, $65,695, but undercuts the Lincoln Navigator, $72,055, and Cadillac Escalade, $73,395. Still, Infiniti officials say most QX80s go out the door optioned up to the mid-$70,000 range, and a fully loaded example will set you back $86,265. What's disappointing about the QX80 is that 7 years into its life, there are few meaningful advancements. It's heavier than before, fuel economy and power are unchanged, and the list of in-car technologies still lags behind the competition. In a vacuum, yes, it's a nice enough SUV with lots of style, a quiet cabin, and a decent list of available features. But while all its competitors have been updated and are thoroughly modern, the Infiniti QX80 seems to transport you a few years back in time. Fun as it may be, Smart's cute little Cabrio is an EV argument that's tough to justify. San Diego, California. Zipping along the San Diego harbor on a sunny SoCal day, it's hard not to love the Smart ForTwo electric drive Cabriolet. There's an instantaneous gob of torque as you scoot away from every stoplight. The canvas roof folds back to let the warm sun fill the cabin. You can hilariously whip U-turns in the middle of the street. There's great visibility from every angle. Really, it's a great way to get around town. It's not until you begin to unpack the details of the Smart ForTwo electric drive that the cute little runabout begins to lose its luster. The range is the lowest among all electric vehicles. There's hardly any cargo space. And holy crap, it's expensive. Smart will only sell the ForTwo as an EV in the US. In all 50 states, from here on out, and all I can say is, well, good luck. Pros. Coupe and Cabrio. I've always thought that if you're going to buy a Smart, just get the Cabriolet. The power canvas roof slides back along the rails to give a sort of big sunroof effect, or you can detach the roof bars above the side windows completely, fold the top all the way back, and have a full convertible experience. When the roof is back up, it's no louder inside the Cabriolet than in the regular ForTwo Coupe. Why choose one body style when you can have both? City slicker. Drive any version of the Smart in a big city, and you'll see why the thing's so popular in Europe, or in congested American markets like San Francisco. You can park it anywhere. The incredible 22.8-foot turning radius means it can pretty much turn around in itself. And with steering that's both light in weight and super direct in action, it's great for quick dash maneuvers through traffic. If your daily commute is from one end of Manhattan to the other, you'll love having a Smart. Safe and secure. People make a lot of assumptions about the Smart's drivability and safety simply because of its size. As for on-road manners, even at 80 miles per hour on the highway, it doesn't get blown around by crosswinds or feel frighteningly undersized compared to other cars. You sit up high, with a commanding view of what's ahead. It's stable, quiet, and easy to use on all types of roads. And while I can't personally speak to the effectiveness of Smart's tritium cell body structure, this video of a ForTwo crashing into a full-size Mercedes-Benz S-Class should provide proof that it's a totally tough little guy. Cons. Dead range, though. Because the Smart is so small, there isn't a ton of room for big batteries without totally eliminating cargo space. That means you're left with a 17.6 kilowatt-hour lithium-ion battery that's rated at just 57 miles of electric range in the electric drive Cabriolet, 58 in the Coupe. Smart officials say real-world driving tends to yield several more miles of usable range, but you can't slap an official number of 57 on a window sticker in a time when most EVs are getting at least double that number. Way too expensive. I could maybe forgive the 57-mile range if this car was like $20,000. But in fact, only the very base Smart ForTwo electric drive coupe is a bargain, at $23,900 to start, before available EV incentives, making it the cheapest brand new electric car you can buy in the United States by a long shot. If you want the Cabrio, that'll be an extra $4,200, and adding options like heated leather seats, touchscreen infotainment with navigation, upgraded audio, and more, bring the as-tested price of the Cabriolet you see here to, wait for it, $32,180. That's as much as a Volkswagen e-Golf, which amply seats 4 adults and all their luggage, and carries it 125 miles before needing to be plugged in. Too many compromises. The ways in which the Smart ForTwo electric drive charms me are not unique to itself. Drive any small EV and you'll be rewarded with fun around town handling. The Smart's party trick of being easy to park and fun to U-turn can't outweigh all the other sacrifices you have to make to live with one every single day. As a second, urban car, it makes sense. But only if you get the cheapest one possible. And even then.